One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
Since when do business and finance majors need to pretend to be liberal?
Hey everyone, we're out here at the Rent is Too Damn High rally here at the Capitol in Lansing, and I'm going to hand off the camera here over to my buddy Will Lawrence with the Rent is Too Damn High Coalition.
We're out here fighting to end the ban on rent control. We're here for a renter's bill of rights to keep landlords accountable and empower tenants. We're fighting for social housing and housing first programs for people who are unhoused. And we're here to build solidarity among everybody who pays rent, everybody who loves someone who pays rent, everybody who knows that the rent is too damn high. You already know it's not complicated. Come down here to the Capitol in Lansing. And if you can't make it today, check out our website, www.mirentistodamnhigh.com. Come get with it.
The rent's too damn high.
When you pay low wages, you're essentially impoverishing communities. That creates social instability. That social instability is manifested in high crimes and other social dysfunctions. The elites then respond not by addressing those economic problems, by, say, raising wages or allowing workers to form unions so they can improve their lives. They're responding with more police in those communities, right? And so we have what we're seeing today, these eruptions in Ferguson and in New York, people reacting to police brutality, that essentially is a function of how the elites have chosen. They're making a choice to respond to social instability with force rather than economic policy that actually addresses the economic problem in the first place, the problem of economic marginalization.
All that war is just soldiers driven by nationalist pride or economic necessity, tricked into laying down their lives to fight and win more material wealth for their country that corporations will use to make themselves richer and wage more war. This never-ending cycle inevitably led to the world burning in nuclear fire, as those same corporations distracted the populace with commodified goods produced as a byproduct of that war and their machine. The lucky few who were able to escape the flames found shelter in vaults that the corrupt government had outsourced the construction, maintenance, and operation of to giant corporations. This unmitigated power over people given to a company with no moral compass other than their profit margin resulted in many of the vaults being used as testing grounds for cheap research and development. The experiments within unhampered by the concerns of the subjects involved, as corporations do not have to answer to the voice of democracy, nor the subsequent ethical standards of a government run by it. Those who were able to escape the vaults or survive above ground found themselves thrown right back into the same tribalistic thinking that fueled the conflicts from the days before the bombs dropped, with those seeking power and control throwing their followers into conflicts over resources that ultimately would only be used to improve the lives of those already in power, because war never changes.
Politics should be staying out of video games entirely, along with the people like this.
How did you know she was gonna betray us? What'd she say? It was in her eyes, in the way she was leading us. But you said you knew Spanish.
I just assumed you didn't want a +1. I thought you could practice talking to other people. Aren't you worried you're gonna get a little too old to be a hot divorcee? Don't worry, honestly, it's fine. Independence is hard work, and some people just aren't cut out for it. Since you came together, I figured you guys could sleep on the couch in the living room. Yeah, it's L-shaped, so you'll both fit, and I figured you don't need the privacy. You know, you're used to living without it. I'm just glad I don't have to be married. In this day and age, I don't think I could do it. It looks so hard. Like, honestly, you are so brave. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You just have to keep putting yourself out there, and I promise you will find the right divorce attorney. Why do you think you're married? You seem like you could be so self-sufficient. Can I read through your text messages with your spouse and then tell you why I think they're cringy? Just for fun, I'm like so good at that. But seriously, why are you married? What did you do wrong? Tell me about your flaws so that I can reassure myself that I would never end up in such an unimaginably embarrassing situation.
Okay, I'm still dying of COVID, but I had to get this out there. Thank God for these writers' strikes. Because if it weren't for all these strikes shutting down these shows, we would probably have a cringy-ass video of Jimmy Fallon interviewing New Jeans. Keep that fucker away from New Jeans. I know he's thinking about it. I know the second his show is back, he's gonna make some grubby little phone calls. Don't answer them, girls. You're better than that.
Baby girl, you know what I want. Let me do it to you, do it to you. Let me do you like Baby girl, you know what I want.
Did you know that black students are 2 times more likely to be suspended from school than white students? Or what about in 2015 where the black students from the graduating class didn't meet none of the 4 SAT college readiness benchmarks? But why? Hey, this is NBLO Haji from the Nation of Black Liberation, and you're watching Simple Black Theory. Now, this will be a series where we'll be dissecting the negative perceptions of black people. This video will solely be on education. In order for us to have a better understanding on why the education system is against black people, we have to really understand how the education influences us. Learning is not isolated, it's intrinsically tied to our social connections and human development. We learn every day, whether it's from our relatives, friends, or the teachers at school. What we learn shapes our beliefs, opinions, and perception of life. For instance, if you grew up in a household that practiced Christianity, it likely had an impact on your perspective, either positively or negatively. If we acknowledge that learning molds who we are, it becomes clear that both the content and source of our education shapes who we become. So if we are learning about negative stereotypes from those who perpetrate them, we're likely to believe in them. It's crucial to have a diverse learning environment to counter these negative influences, as it has direct harm to black students. One problem that black students face is racial disparities in education. Studies have shown that 80% of public school teachers are white, and it's been reported that 77% of those school teachers show implicit bias. Black students also face harsher disciplines and punishments than their white counterparts. It's been revealed that black students are seen as much older than their actual age and are more likely to get a far worse punishment than the white students at a similar age. Black people also face a system that's culturally insensitive. The curriculum often lacks representation and fails to address the historical contributions and experiences of black people. This lack of inclusion can lead to disengagement and hinder the development of positive racial identity among the black students. As black people, if we continue learning history solely through the lens of whiteness, we are perpetrating their narrative without living it ourselves.
Ladies, I've made my decision. Honey Mahogany, Vivian Benet. I'm sending you both home. Oh my God. I'm sorry, my dears. Neither one of you. Wow. In the history of that gave away. Again. No. Wow. Hit me, baby, one more time.
So, what's up? What's up? Struggle is up, brother. Oppression is up, brother.
Do you know what cultural erasure, gentrification, and Mitch McConnell have in common? Hi everyone, I'm Abiola Ogoro. This is DSR in a minute or less, without the chair today. As you can see, I am standing in front of probably from this side, beautiful city, the city of Atlanta, which has so much cultural significance, especially when it comes to black communities and civil rights organizations. But in recent years, Atlanta has become a victim to a lot of different factors, but especially gentrification and cultural erasure. Now, what are these two different things? Gentrification, as I'm sure you've heard the term of so many times, is almost the same as cultural erasure, but more so when it comes to physical structures. Gentrification is the active removal and essentially disintegration of a community from an area that is a result of whitewashing and often a different form of colonialism as we would know it today. Cultural erasure is more so the literal erasing of a culture, but especially when it comes to, you know, like practices and languages and different things like music. You see this a lot when it comes to indigenous communities who were beaten and abused for talking in their native languages, you know, hundreds of years ago, but especially even today. And you continue to see that when it comes to places like Mali banishing French and going back to their native language, then being punished by the French government. So these are two examples that really help you tie that in together. Now, what does Mitch McConnell have to do with this, and why does the city of Atlanta matter when talking about any of this? Mitch McConnell, as you all know, has been a very intentional political figure when it comes to the intentional racist policies that are enacted towards communities, especially Black and especially Latino communities when it comes to Mitch McConnell. When you enact those kind of laws and have that kind of political building against those communities, what you end up doing is reinforcing cultural erasure and creating a space for gentrification to happen. When you decide to do certain things when it comes to laws, especially when it comes to voting laws, restricting certain communities, and ruling against certain communities in the way he has, especially when it comes to Washington, D.C., and his intentional efforts to make sure D.C. doesn't become a state, you create a larger environment for cultural erasure and gentrification. Now, Atlanta is fighting back, and, you know, compared to a lot of other places, it is still a very beautiful Black Mecca, but it is not immune to those same consequences. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this in another video, and I hope you enjoyed these beautiful views. I'm Abiola Ogoro, and we'll see you later. Bye!
Go Gooby. Go Gooby. Go Gooby. Go Gooby. Go Gooby. Go Gooby. Go Gooby.
Hey mom, can I borrow your gray shirt? Oh my god, yes. I've already told you before, you can borrow my clothes. You really don't have to ask, okay? I don't want to be bothered every time. Hey, so I borrowed those black slacks that you have. They're clean. I just folded them and put them back in the closet. I hope that's okay. What? No. You can't just take things out of my closet without asking me. You have no consideration for other people's possessions? God, work is just running me ragged, and their time off system is so broken. Like, even if you ask way in advance, like, they don't have to approve anything, and you don't find out till almost right before the thing. Well, your job should be your #1 priority. So if you don't get the time off, you don't get the time off. Hey, I'm not gonna be able to go on that family vacation. I put the notice in, and it was technically on time, but they didn't approve it. Okay, well, you need to figure that out because we already planned to have you at the gathering, and family should be your #1 priority. Your job should not be getting in the way of that. Hey, did you throw this apple away? Yes, why? There is way too much apple left on this, so we're just wasting food now? No. The next time that you eat an apple, I want you to bring it to me and show me before you throw it away because this is ridiculous. Hey, I finished my apple. Can I show you the core to make sure that it's right before I throw it away? Why are you asking me that? You are way too old for me to be babying you. I cannot be holding your hand for this. Yes, that's fine. You got a D on this homework assignment? If you're struggling with your homework, you have me and your father. You can come talk to us and ask for help. There is no excuse for getting bad grades like this. Hey, can I have some help on this homework? I am really struggling and I try to figure it out on my own, but I just can't. No, I can't help you. I have so many other things that I'm doing right now. You need to be self-sufficient. If you can't learn this stuff on your own, how are you ever supposed to perform as an adult? I cannot believe you are hiding this thing from me. You know, trust is something that is earned, and frankly, you have broken my trust. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to trust you again. It is going to take me years to build that back up. If something happens and you're struggling or something goes wrong, you need to tell us. I'm still gonna love you no matter what, but keeping secrets is not the way to do things. Hey, here is me confessing something to you that's really difficult for me to talk about because I think that you're gonna freak out. You did fucking what? Oh, I'm definitely about to freak out. It's almost like sometimes there's nothing you can do that's right.
I would never let you in my VIP repeat. We are enemies. We are foes.
The thing that makes traditional architecture so incredibly cool is the concept of Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. The locals, the village, the community builds houses, but then they get hit by an earthquake. What happens? They adapt. They make their homes earthquake-proof. A storm happens, fire spreads, animals attacks. They adapt. So what a foreigner might come in and deem a mundane, primitive, backward mud hut ends up being like the most bulletproof, fireproof, earthquake-proof, sturdy, ventilated home we've ever seen. Because it's built off generation and generation of trial and error. When I made a video explaining this, there were a bunch of comments like, oh, pretty hypocritical of you talking about traditional architecture while you're using Wi-Fi right now. You can't really assess someone's quality of life depending on what their house is made of, but like, sure, I get where you're coming from. Most people don't want to live like their ancestors pre-industrial revolution. My video was not a reject modernity, return to tradition, the industrial revolution and its consequences type of video. That does not mean that tradition is unimportant though. Let me give you an example. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Sarah, I talk about art, and let me introduce you to the living legend, the man himself, Francis Carré. The architect was born in Burkina Faso, and his home village didn't have a school to attend. So after studying architecture, he built this, the first school in his village. But what makes this building so incredible is the fact that it was built completely using local material and local labor. He would use clay and mud, which was very available in the region. And because traditionally the whole community would work together to build stuff, what you had was women bringing in water for brick manufacturing, children being involved, and it ended up being sustainable, well ventilated, good lighting, all while using local knowledge. And this is one example from his incredible line of work. It's not just local materials that he uses, but also tradition. For example, the palaver tree, part of West African tradition, where the entire community would sit under a big tree and discuss the issues happening within. He described it as true democracy, and he used that as inspiration to build the Berlin Parliament. Again, in London, taking inspiration from sitting under a tree in his home village. Even though he has a lot of projects where he uses mud because it's available and sustainable, his work isn't restricted to it. He finds whatever materials is available in that local region and use that. He emphasizes sustainability, inclusivity, community. I'm going to remind you that it's never that black and white. It's not tradition good, modern bad. For example, we've seen such a rise in population. And as a result, you see these apartment complexes cramping in hundreds of people. People need a roof over their head. There is a lot of nuance to this, right? What I can tell you for certain, though, is that traditional architecture is important to preserve. We need to preserve the knowledge of people who had such a superior understanding of their environment and how to build for their environment with their environment. So many of it has already been lost. Buildings alone are responsible for 40% of energy-related carbon emissions. Just because cement is a modern invention does not necessarily mean it is a superior building material. Stop erasing local and indigenous architecture from syllabuses.
So, what's up? What's up? Struggle is up, brother. Oppression is up, brother. Salami, eggs, and bacon.
We have actual descriptions of the world that have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. Indigenous Australian communities have been passing down knowledge about the land and its changes for generations. From changes in sea levels to now extinct animals, there are descriptions about many things. And we know this because scientific data aligns with many of their stories. For example, there's oral traditions that describe the now extinct Diprotodon, which the indigenous communities referred to as the Yamuti. Now, it's said to have gone extinct around 40,000 years ago. But it doesn't end there. There are also some descriptions of human subspecies. Indigenous communities towards the north of Australia, as well as in Southeast Asia, describe a small hobbit-like humanoid. We actually ended up finding their remains. These were the Homo floresiensis on the island of Flores in Indonesia, which likely went extinct 30 to 40,000 years ago.
You think the wind is ever trying to tell us something and we don't know how to hear it anymore?
Just want you to stop saying odd shit.
The whole conservatives freaking out about 15-minute city thing is my breaking point. Because now they've gone beyond ignorance. They are now doing like weaponized stupidity. Because the logical leap necessary to go from cities should be designed so that everything you need is within a 15-minute walking distance to a totalitarian government is going to make sure that you cannot leave that 15-minute diameter is insane. Like at that point, you are just doing it on purpose. You're just being a contrarian for the sake of contrarianism. Like, I understand why the politicians are defending the car companies, but if you, regular civilian, are taking the political stance of being anti-convenience and saving money, there is nothing for you. You cannot be saved. You're too far gone. And the irony is, a lot of these people worried about the government locking them in 15-minute districts live in gated communities. Like, come on now.
What do you mean my cards are declined? Try it again.
Buy me Prada, Balenciaga.
Oh no, this can't be.
My life is the crown, and yours is politics, and I will not trade one prison for another.
I'm sorry that I looked at Mrs. Riley and lightly grazed her left tit.
So Matt Walsh and a bunch of other loser-ass right-wing grifters have been posting a video of this woman. A video in which she is simply stating how her morning as a 29-year-old single person went. She talks about how she went to go see Beyonce the night before and how she's thinking about cooking up a new meal today because she has no real obligations, aka a partner and some kids. And honestly, that's perfectly fine. Some people never want to have kids, and some people never want to get married, and that's perfectly fine. Live your life the way that makes you happy. And at the end of the video, she explains how a lot of people her age do want a partner and some kids, and how that's perfectly fine. But for her, she doesn't need nor want that yet, right? But of course, a conservative's biggest enemy is somebody who wants to mind their own business. So Matt Walsh decided to publicly slander this innocent woman who wasn't hurting anybody by saying that she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is, because she decides that she wants to live life however she wants to live it. Now listen, Mr. Walsh, I understand that you think women should be pregnant and wed by the time they're teenagers. So I guess I understand why you in particular would be upset at this woman. But you know what's truly depressing about this whole situation, Mr. Walsh? The fact that this random woman, whom you do not know, bothers you so much because she decides to live her life in a manner that does not affect you. You've got people like Tim Pool saying it's cope, her life is meaningless, you don't need kids, but she has no purpose. And this is ironic because Tim Pool and Matt Walsh serve no purpose. The world would be exponentially better without these two clowns.
No, 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 no!
So a 100-year-old tree fell on Ron DeSantis' house, and the comment section is mostly just sad that it didn't fall on his head. Someone said that tree had one job. One job. I hope it doesn't think it's still getting paid. Thoughts and prayers. Maybe it works after all. TikTok, I am not condoning these comments. I'm just putting them here because I'm a news reporter. Were they home or did God miss again? Poetic justice. Warning number 1. And this is bad. How exactly? Mother Nature's payback for denying climate change. Sorry it missed. Right to the point. Karma is a tree sometimes. Nature trying to do what man won't. You're doing amazing, sweetie. God. She has a sense of humor. And finally, what is wrong with you hate-filled people? I don't know, man. What could be wrong with those hate-filled people? Why could they hate someone so much who's so loving? I'm done now.
So, what's up? What's up? Struggle is up, brother. Oppression is up, brother. So, I have PCOS. I've had PCOS since I was 15 years old. This is about 2.5 weeks of no waxing or shaving. Usually I don't let it get this bad or this long, but it's very expensive to keep up with. It's very expensive to wax. Shaving is not always the most fun, but I think what's most concerning about having this disease is that Republicans and conservatives are trying to define what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. What is masculine and what is feminine? And if they're trying so hard to define what femininity and what being a woman is, then what happens to women like me who are born female, who want to remain female, but have male-like characteristics? I mean, I get stared at everywhere in public. Kids ask me if I'm trans. They'll ask me if I was born a man, if I am a man, and it's hurtful. But I think any woman with PCOS or any woman with male features should be concerned about what Republicans and what conservatives are trying to do in this country, because where do we fall? I mean, if I have this when most women don't, you know, what are they going to do with women like me? That's scary.
Prove it!
Fine! I'm going to!
Fine! I'll be right here!
Fine!
Fine!